So in the last 5 days, I have had to walk people through. Who the hell is messaging me while I get started here? So I've had to walk people through buying Bitcoin that I told to buy Bitcoin when we were at the $15,000 to $18,000 range, and it's been quite astonishing. I've personally walked about $16 million, probably like 15.8, but let's just say 16 because it sounds better. $16 million into Bitcoin in the last 5 days since Monday. So it's been quite interesting. These are people who I've told about Bitcoin who have said, hey, you should probably get an allocation into Bitcoin, and they didn't. But now that the ETFs are out, now that the marketing machine is out, now that the things are moving, they need to get an allocation because, as I've been saying for a while, Bitcoin has now transitioned from a speculative asset to a must-own asset. From a maybe I need this to maybe I need to look at it to a I need to own this asset. And it's been a busy damn week. Now, of course, these people are my friends, family members, etc., etc. You know, and so it's been fun. It's been fun sort of speaking to people and helping them sort of figure out what they're going to do. And I'll tell you this, 94% of that capital has gone into the ETFs. That's how powerful these ETFs are. It is now approximately 1 billion times easier to get Bitcoin into a portfolio with the ETFs. The conversation lasts maybe, oh, do I need to do this? How do I do this conversation that used to take 45 minutes to an hour is now 5 minutes long. It's, oh, you open up your broker account, yeah, type in FBTC, IBIT, BITB, HODL, ARKB, whatever you want to type in, GBTC, and click buy. That's it. That's the extent of the conversation, and it's absolutely fantastic to see this, and I'm glad for the people who have decided to jump in this week, because what else has been happening this week? Well, Larry's been out here trying to take your coins from you, and what have you done? You've given them to him. I've been saying this since the beginning. We are going to see manipulation, and it's not really manipulation, right? It's just big boys moving the market around to try and scare the little fish so that the big whale can come up and swallow up all the little fish. It's normal process, and I actually like it, right? I actually like the fact that Larry took your Bitcoin. If you lettuce-handed this thing, and Bitcoin went down to 66,000, and you basically said, oh, I've had enough, I'm going to sell, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad Larry has your Bitcoin now. I'm glad Fidelity sucked up your Bitcoin. I'm glad Bitwise took your Bitcoin, because they're never going to sell. Right? And I'm telling you this right now, the more rotation happens, as I've been saying for months, the more of that buyer rotation happens, the healthier the bull market will be, because those lettuce hands won't be selling at 100,000. BlackRock, Fidelity, all of these other asset managers are buying forever. They're not buying to trade in and out of the market. And so you would ask yourself, like, why is the market moving up and down so much if all they're doing is buying? Well, the ETF is not the only inflow that's coming into the market, right? There are other avenues. There's retail. And what we can clearly see on Twitter, HODL 15 Capital has been putting out great charts and great data on the fact that really what's going on here is that people with a small number of coins, less than 100, are selling, but the accounts with more than 100 coins are aggressively buying. So what's going on here? Basically, the small fish, their Bitcoin is being taken from them, exactly as I said would happen during this period leading up to the halving. And it's exciting. I like it. As I've never been shy to say this. If it's legal and I can do it, I would do it. If I was them, I would be doing the exact same thing. I would dump the market, and they tested it a few days ago, and people it didn't really make an effect, because they dumped it by 4,000 and it came straight back the same day, and they couldn't take that chance this time. So what did they have to do? Stop the inflows, right? If you're strategic, you go, okay, cool. So people are really debating around these inflows. All right, let's just stop these inflows for a day and drum the price down, dump the futures markets, stop the inflows on the ETF side, dump the futures markets, wait until it goes down. Wait until those people that are hanging on with their last thread of hope that Bitcoin will continue going up, sell, because they've had enough. They cannot take enough, and that's when you buy. I would do exactly the same thing, and I'm not afraid to say it. Why? Because it's healthy. It is the perfect thing that should happen to a market. The asset should move from a hand that doesn't respect it to a hand that respects it more. Now, of course, there's going to be people who have a large amount of Bitcoin who've been holding it since 2010, 2011, etc., who want to generate some liquidity, and they're going to generate some liquidity. They're going to buy a house, they're going to buy a car, they're going to take their family on holiday, etc., etc. That's fine. What I'm talking about is you and I. You and I should not be selling Bitcoin. If you or I have sold Bitcoin during this period, we have just been larried. You have just been larried, right? Larry Fink knows how to move these markets. He's a genius at it. He's been doing it in every market since his inception into this game. They know exactly what to do, and they just did it to you. Why? Because we're approaching close. We're 40 minutes away from close, and guess what happened? Bitcoin was down in the dumps at 68,000. Everyone was crying about it, and magically we're above 69.5, which is exactly the support level for this bull market. Magically, within an hour, we're up $1,500, $2,000 to make the charts look good. Magically, that's happened. So, all I'm here to tell you is this. There are things now in this market that are happening that you don't understand, that you are not privy to. You are not going to listen to any YouTuber, including myself, and be privy to things that are going to happen to this market like you were before. Your influence in this market, your ability to understand this market, your ability to react to what's going on in this market is finished. The one thing that you can do, and you might not like this, there's people that don't like this. I was talking to American HODL about this, and it's an interesting way, it's an interesting reality when when you move from a market that you sort of understood, you were part of the conversation, and now anything you have to say is completely fucking irrelevant. Right? That's a very, very interesting reality to being, because all of your favorite Bitcoin influencers are at this point completely and utterly irrelevant to this market. And that's tough to deal with. But the truth is that these ETFs are in control. There's conversations happening, there's credit moving, there's capital moving that you have no control over, and there's no way for you to time, understand the movements, etc., etc. You'll be able to see them after they've happened. You will not know that they're going to happen. You might know that something like this could happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know with what force it's going to happen. And that's the game. That's the game. The big whales are here. When the whale jumps into the ocean, there's going to be reverberations throughout that ocean. And that's what's going on right now. So anyone, if you sold your Bitcoin in the last couple days while the price was dumped, you sold your Bitcoin to Larry, you got larried. Like, it's just simple as that. You got larried. Now, one of the things that I've been doing, why I haven't made too many videos this past week, is I've been building a concentrated position every year. So people ask me, like, how do you generate liquidity if you're not going to sell your Bitcoin? One of the ways that I do it is by using different trades in the market that are available to generate. That would be my liquidity trade, right? So I'll put in an X amount of dollars, and it will be riding the Bitcoin trend. And that particular trade I will sell, and then I will spend that money. And that way I get to hold on to my Bitcoin no matter what happens, because I always have years of liquidity sitting in the bank no matter what the inflation rate is. I don't care. After going through 2008 and after learning about 2008, and I was actually in the middle of it with 2008, I've just realized I don't care what inflation is. I need 3 years of burn rate in the bank in order to make me feel good and allow me to take the actions that I need to take when the time is right in the market. So I have 1 or 2 of those trades, like big concentrated trades every year, or every few years. And now it's obviously doing the same thing with Bitcoin. And I've done that in this past week. That's why I don't really like putting out too much energy when I'm focused on placing those specific trades that I want to do and building out those positions. But if you want to know about that trade, let me know in the comments, and I'll happily do another video on it. As to why I did it. But listen, I just want to let you know, you are trying to understand this market now from our perspective is completely and utterly irrelevant. Because here's the thing, the moment that we kind of understand it and we put tweets out there or we put videos out there and we put this, that, and the other saying, oh, I kind of understand what Larry's doing here, they'll change the strategy. Why? because they got people watching YouTube, they got people watching Twitter, they got people watching Reddit, they got people watching all of this stuff. You think that there's no people sitting there going, oh, I think they kind of figured out what the strategy is, we better change it up, right? Look what happened. We just had a major dump. Coinbase didn't go down, did it? Coinbase didn't go down all of a sudden. The last 3 times Coinbase went down to the dumps. Now Coinbase didn't go down. So it's like, this is a very, very interesting market. And I love it because this is the reality of how this thing is supposed to play out. So Bitcoin, I believe, will close above 69.5 today. And that will maintain our support levels. And I think as we go into next week, we'll be pumping again solidly. But yeah, this is so exciting. But at the same time, you have to understand your level of irrelevance to the capital flow that's happening now, so you can truly appreciate what's going on. And some people don't like that. Some people want to be the center of the absolute universe. From my perspective, I just want to know what's going on with the capital flow. Once I understand what's going on with the capital flow, I can sort of figure out what's gonna happen in the market. And here's what I can tell you: we're gonna see much more of these, right? We're gonna run up. They're gonna find out another pool of people who are willing to sell. It's gonna run past. Right? It's going to run past, they're going to be super excited, and then there's going to be a dip. Now, the good news is that the dip isn't as strong, because now you've got institutions fighting with each other, right? So we just went up from 73,000 down to 66,000, and that's it, right? It looks like this dip is almost done, depending on where we close today and from a technical point of view. So understand this, the market has absolutely completely changed. You're dealing with a market that you do not and cannot understand, and you're dealing with capital flows that will make no sense to you, right? Well, look, I'm looking at the market right now. Bitcoin is down 2.3%. MicroStrategy is up 6.2%, right? There's something there. There's a message there being sent to the market about what's going to happen, and I think the message here is you better go long Bitcoin at this point. So, and the miners are all up as well, right? The one trade I did was a miner trade. I don't really talk about mining because I'm not a miner, right? I'm not educated enough to talk about, you know, all of the aspects of mining, but I'll absolutely use the mining stocks to generate liquidity and profits for myself and more Bitcoin. So yeah, this is what I think's going on, right? This is the standard game now, and you better hope you don't get larried every few weeks, because I think this is absolutely going to happen, and we're going to step function up all the way to $100,000 by the halving, and the market has calmed down a lot more too. But listen, I want you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I want to continue analyzing what's going on in the market and helping you understand how the ETFs will be, even though we can't get ahead of it, right? The only way you can get ahead of it is by buying Bitcoin. Even though we can't get ahead of it, it's so beautiful and entertaining to understand what's going on here in the market. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. Also, like I said, my message is becoming more and more irrelevant by the day as Bitcoin's price continues to go up, because getting to 1 Bitcoin, and by the way, I will never change that message, right? Getting to 1 Bitcoin will always be my message. I may add a caveat saying get to 1 Bitcoin or as much as you can. But the reality is I still believe that the 1 Bitcoin level is the true inflection point for any person to get to. And if you've missed it, you've missed it. But that's my reality, and that's my thought process. So if, as I've said, my time on social media is running out, and if you want to keep in touch outside of that, maybe I'll talk about you know, some of this other liquidity stuff that I do and everything else. Check the description of the video and you can go sign up for a page. And again, I've said there that that's really for people who have gotten to 1 Bitcoin. If you haven't gotten to 1 Bitcoin, anything I say outside of buy Bitcoin, shut the fuck up, get fabulously wealthy is going to be irrelevant to you even in the future. But if you would like to stay in touch, then go check out the link in the description and sign up, because at the end of the day, Larry Fink is here. We can see it in the markets. We can see how the price is going to be brought down. It's all poetic. It's all beautiful. It's all strategic. But despite that, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.